Alrighty, guys, what's up? Dad out of here tonight, and today's topic is going to be something I wanted to make a video on for a while now. I just haven't really had the time. But today we're going to be looking at how to keep your GPUs from overheating, or really your whole system, but specifically the GPUs. That's the hottest part of your system. And I thought about it doing it a lot of different ways, but I've actually been able to figure out a system that works using the integrated fans already in your Dell server. So this specifically I'm testing with the Dell PowerEdge R720, and if you've been watching any of my other videos, you know that's pretty much what I work with. But this same strategy should be usable with other servers in at least the Dell PowerEdge family. Now, I have heard that some of the newer ones have made it difficult to manually adjust the fan speeds. So do keep that in mind if you have like a 13 or 14, basically a newer series of the Dell PowerEdge. This may or may not work. Anyway, without further ado, guys, here's what we're going to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and run, I made a program a while back that just basically maxes out the GPUs. So okay, so I've already got the NVIDIA SMI running at 1 second intervals here, as you can see. And now what we're going to do is we're going to run this GPU max load Python script. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then you should notice that, yep, there we go, we're maxed out. And then the temperature should start rising pretty quickly. Yeah, okay, wow. There we go. So okay, we're already up at least in one almost to 70 degrees, and the GPUs will start throttling at about 80 degrees Celsius. So the idea here is we want some way to adjust our fans so that they'll blow at max capacity whenever our GPUs start thermal throttling, or really get close to thermal throttling. So that's the idea, and I've made some scripts that we'll implement later to do this kind of automatically. But I want to show you guys how you can manually do this, if nothing else. So right now, this is the iDRAC for the particular server I'm working on, and we can see that all the system fans are somewhere between 20 and 30%. Okay, regardless of the fact that our GPUs are thermal throttling themselves at this very moment. So that's not good. We don't want that. We would like these fans to be operating at close to 100% so that these can run as cool as possible. And the reason this is because the fans are designed to look at the Dell sensors, not the sensors that you have in your GPUs that this NVIDIA driver is actually looking at. So anyway, what we want to do is we want to find a way to adjust this. And the easiest way, or one of the easiest ways, and I'll just do this really quick so I can show you, but you need to interact with your iDRAC. So if you don't have that set up, you need to get that set up. And I already have a video of that anyway, so you can go check out my channel, or I'll link it in the video description. You can look at that and get your iDRAC set up. But once you do, you can, if nothing else, you can SSH into root for your iDRAC, and then you can run the command. Sorry, let me find it here. Here we go. You can run this guy, and this is going to basically adjust your fans to high. So this is what I'm looking at here. I'm looking at this manual. So this is the integrated Dell remote access control 9 version, blah 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 blah. And you can actually go and run some of these commands, and some of these don't work actually, which is strange, but the one that I found works is this one here. So if you type Racadem set system thermal settings fan speed offset 1, that sets it to high, 0 sets it to low, and then basically 255 is none, so no offset, and it's just whatever the system defaults are. So, and this is 100%, this is about 60% for me, and this is about 30 normally. So anyway, just want to let you guys know that. So let's pull this terminal back up. And now let's go ahead and enter that command. Okay, cool. So we just successfully modified this particular setting. So our offset is now high. And then if we keep refreshing here, you can see that the fans are already operating at about 100%. If we keep waiting and we keep refreshing, eventually all the fans should kick up to 100%. I'll go ahead and just keep refreshing until it, there we go. There we go. All right, so now we're at 100%. So if we go back over here, our GPUs, we can see that already they're back under 80. Earlier these were over 80. So since they're already really hot, it'll take a minute for these to kind of cool down. But this guy is already getting a little bit cooler. But anyway, you can see that this is, maybe in this case marginally helping. But if it would have caught earlier, it might even help more. But anyway, the point is both of these are eventually going to go down, and they're gonna rest at about 70 degrees, which is way better. It's you have 10 degrees shy of thermal throttling, which is nice. So this seems to have made a pretty big impact for me. So I wanted to share this with you guys. So anyway, to set it back, you can either use the same command. So use this guy, except set it to 0, which will be the low setting. So if we go back, we can set it to the low setting. And then this should drop the fans down to about 60. All right, so they're getting close to 60. There we go. So on 0, they're about 60. And then if we set it back to, well, unfortunately, for whatever reason, it won't let me. I can only paste things in. So let's try to paste, and then I can make the offset 255. And that should set it back to none. And then these fans are going to fall back to whatever the default setting, which for me is about 20 to 30% of max. Okay, and there we go, back to default. So anyway, the next piece of this is, in order not to have to make to actually SSH in every time, there is a tools module from Dell called iDRAC tools. Okay, and this is a guide I found online, and I've already gone through it and done all of the steps. So I'll just go ahead and briefly touch on these. But essentially, this is the Dell website. Oh wow! Try that one more time. This is the website that has the downloadable. So this is what you want. So go here, download this. You can download it by clicking the button, but it has wget blocked. So I wrote a command so that I could just download it directly on the server. So this just poses as a particular browser. So it looks like somebody's actually interacting with it from a browser. So anyway, pull this down, you unzip it, cd into, so iDRAC tools, RCAM, or RACADAM, so I'm going to call it. And then you cd into rel 7, so this is actually for Red Hat. And then cd into x60 or x86-64. And then you're going to find, actually, I'll go ahead and show you. So if we cd into home directory, you can see that there is an iDRAC tools. So you're going to go into once you get the file, you're going to extract it. It's going to give you this directory. You're going to cd into iDRAC tools. You're going to cd into RACADAM. Oops, excuse me. And you're going to cd into rel 7. And I choose RHEL 7 because this came out in about 2014, and then this server, the R720s are, I think they were released about 2015. So they're just, I thought they would be more compatible. You could probably use RHEL 8. Maybe if yours is a little bit newer, that was 2019. So, you know, your preference there. Basically, what we're gonna do is we're in here, and we're gonna cd into x86. There we go. All right, and then there's all these RPM files. So we need some way now to convert these RPM files into Debian files, since I'm using Ubuntu, so we can actually use the package manager to load them. So there is this neat little guy called Alien. So you can run the command sudo apt install alien, and that's basically a tool to convert all the RPM packages to Debian packages. So you can go ahead and run that. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to run it. And then you can run, you know, I'm just going to walk through these commands. I'm not going to rerun everything. But basically, what you would do is you would copy paste this in. This is going to convert all of the RPM files to Debian files, which you can see right here. So that's what the output is going to look like. And then once you have all of those, you can just use dpkg, and then you can install all these packages. So all that's left then is we want to create a symbolic link between where this package is installed. So it naturally installs in the opt Dell serve admin bin, and then this is the executable. So that naturally installs there, but in order for our user or whatever user you are to access this, you want to put it in your local bin. So the easiest way to do that is just to create a symbolic link between this executable and then a file named racadem in your local bin. So that's all this is doing here. So basically, and also make sure, for whatever reason, I didn't have a local bin created. So make sure that you do have a local bin. So when you would just copy and paste that, it's going to create you a local bin directory, and then you can create this, and it'll automatically create your file for you. So once you've done that, you should be able to run the command sudo racadem. If you type your password in, there you go. So this is how you know that you've installed it correctly. And then once you have this, basically what this allows you to do is allows you to access your iDRAC or interact with your iDRAC, directly from the command line. So then you can integrate it into a program like Python, and then you can adjust your fans. You could even write it into the script. I thought about basically writing it into writing it into my actual program itself. So this is my one of my object detection scripts. So you could literally write an initialization script where you're clearing out GPU memory. That should be GPU. And then you're basically starting the fans or setting them to high, and then when the program ends, you could have basically like a final script that runs, and it sets them back once the script is finished. So you could do something like that. I prefer the because I might be running multiple things at a time on different GPUs, so I prefer just to have an independent script that checks the temperature of the GPUs and runs off of that. So that was the logic there. Let's scroll back over. So this is in the container. Let's run back over to the actual server. Okay, so now that we have this installed, what we need to do, or the way that you can interact with it now, is you can use the commands or use a structure. So sudo racadem -r flag for host, -u for user, -p for password, and then you can basically whatever command that you want, you can substitute after that. So I don't really want to show you guys this because I have to put my plain text password in, but basically what I'm going to show, I'm just going to paste it in, and I will show most of the command, and then you guys can fill in the rest. But basically your host, so this part, for me this was kind of weird. I had to go into iDRAC, and I had to go into iDRAC settings, and then I had to go into expand that, network, and then I had to go into OS to iDRAC pass through, and then it says USB NIC IP address. So I'm not 100% sure why, but the IP address, as you can tell, is 192.168.68.8 is what my private IP address for the iDRAC is in my local network, like in my house. However, the IP address that I'm able to access the iDRAC with is this. So I guess whenever I set up the enterprise level of iDRAC so I could have the virtual console, I think it created its own like IP address to communicate. So I guess that's why it's the pass through. So anyway, long story short, this is the IP address that you need to actually use to communicate, with the iDRAC so that you can adjust the fans. So just a little backstory on why we're using this kind of weird IP address. Took me a lot longer than I wanted to figure out. But okay, so now we have the IP address. The user in this case is going to be, for most of you guys, probably default as root, which is going to give you full admin privileges to adjust the fans. If you've made a different root level user, you could use that as well. And then the password is the only thing that I'm not going to type in, guys. But this is the structure of the command. So it's really as simple as just typing in whatever your password is for this user and then hitting enter. And then the exact same thing that happened here will happen here. So nothing too crazy with that. But this is what you have to do before you can start writing scripts that will actually work to adjust the fans. So what we're going to do, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this. I haven't actually integrated this into Crontab yet, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this and do that. Alrighty guys, so I got everything set up in Crontab, and I've tested everything and it seems to be working correctly. So we'll go ahead and go through it. The first thing you need to do, we need a place to let that script live. So what I'd recommend is go into your user, or really anywhere you want on the machine. So I went into my home directory, my users SDK. I went down and I created a folder called utilities. And then inside of that, I created one called fans, because I'm eventually going to add more utilities, I'm sure. And then inside of fans is fan logs. And then it outputs FL for fan log. And then we have the fan control program. So this basically turns the fans on and off based on a temperature threshold. There is a privacy, or a privacy configuration, basically just my password, and pretty sure that's all that's in there. And then a state. So whether we're in the reduced state or in the increased state, so is it in temperature increased or reduced? And this is basically, since in Crontab it just runs the script, it doesn't have any memory, so it's not stateful. So you need to reserve or keep the state so that the program knows basically where it was. Otherwise you're gonna end up, as long as the GPU's hot, you're gonna keep running the same command over and over again and sending the same command to increase the fans. Now, it's not really a problem, it's just not the most optimal way to write the code. So anyway, I included a little text file to hold the state. And so the first thing you need to do is put all this stuff together. So make your file called fan control pi, and then paste in this text. I'll include the file directly in the video description, so you won't have to worry about that. Make a file called state, and then make a JSON file with your password. So for example, we read in the privacy file. Okay, I've called it root pass, and that's going to pull it in and basically load it as a JSON, and then take that root pass and save it as root password. I've set the temperature thresholds as 70 degrees Celsius and 45 degrees Celsius. And then basically we're going to go through and we're going to call get temperatures. So we're going to come up here, and this is going to basically call NVIDIA SMI. And it's going to save the outputs, and then it's going to take the temperature, these two temperature values out of the output, and then return those. This is a function to get the timestamp in a human readable format. And then here we're reading the state, so basically just reading this file and taking in whatever text is there, and then to write out the state we have another function here. And then finally this is to adjust this fan speed, so this is the last thing. And in this function we're passing in the root password, we're passing in the temperatures we've collected, we're passing in the high temperature threshold and the low temperature threshold. So that's all the things it needs to run. And then if we look through here, we're basically saying, okay, if the temperature of any of the temperatures in that list, so basically if any of the GPU temperatures are higher than our threshold, and the state is not increased, so we haven't already told the program or told the iDRAC that we want the fans increased, then we'll go ahead and increase it. And then we're going to log out the just something to let us know that we've increasing the fan speed. And then we're going to run that command to actually tell it to change the fan offset to high, and we're going to write the state out. Similarly, if the temperature of all of GPUs, so in this case it's any of them, we want to increase the fan speed if any GPUs here are hot, and then in this case we want to wait till all the GPUs are cool before we start reducing. So we're going to say the same thing whenever the temperatures in our list are low, all of them in this case, and the state is not reduced, we're going to reduce the state, and then we're going to basically print something to let us know we reduced the fan speed. We're going to set the offset to 255, which is basically default, and then we're going to write out the state reduced. So anyway, it's a quick overview of how this program works. And then the next thing we need to do now is, now that we understand how it works, we've got everything set up in our file path, we need to look at the actual Crontab. And you do need to run this as sudo because it needs sudo permissions to run and interact with the iDRAC tools. So okay, I'll go through this command really quick, and then we'll actually test it once to show you that it works. Basically, these 5 stars here, this means it's going to run every minute, and you can adjust these based on how often you want it to run. There's a website, I can't remember the name of it right now, but if you type in like Crontab, like scheduling on Google, like syntax, it should come up, and it'll actually, you can type the date in or how often you want things to run. It'll output this exactly, but it's really not too complicated. You take a look at it. So this is an explicit file path to Python. I always just use an explicit one because I think it makes things easier. So for here, you can type in which Python, and that should give you your default path for whatever Python you're using. And then here we want to call the script. So just type the path in for your script wherever you have it stored. Here we're going to append the output. So all of these print statements are now going to become log files, or going to be appended to our log file. So this is the path to our log file. As you can see, fan logs, fl log, and then this is basically saying any errors we're going to go ahead and also store in that file as well. So this is pretty helpful in debugging, but you don't have to include that part if you don't want to. And then here we're going to say if and only if this first part of the command finishes, we're going to come and execute the second part. So in this one, we're going to take the last 1,000 entries, Then we're going to store them as a temporary file. And then we're going to basically move or rename or overwrite, however you want to call it, this temp file back into the original log file. And the reason we're doing this here is because I just don't want my log file to get too large. It's going to run every minute, and I'm going to forget about it. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean it up now so that it only has 1,000 entries. I'll never need more than that. But if you want to do it manually, feel free to leave this part out. This is just personal preference here. And I'll leave this command, in the video description or in the write-up so that you guys can easily use it. All right, so next we need to actually save it and write it out. So for me, I like to use Control S and then Control X, but you can also use Control O, Enter, and then Control X to get out, and then you should say installing new Crontab. And then if we come over here, we can see that every minute it's telling us the current temperatures. So that's good. It's good news. That means it's working correctly. And now let's go ahead and run that program we had earlier. Let's put the GPUs under max load again. And we should see the temperature start climbing over here. So there we go. So in this point, we also should see, okay, so the GPUs are in the default state. So once the GPUs get hot enough, there we go. Okay, I guess it literally just happened, but as you can see, they were starting to get a little hotter. And then finally, the GPU turn temperatures are this, and we're gonna go ahead, we've exceeded, we're increasing the fan speed. So now let's go ahead and check and see if it has worked. So okay, starting to increase a little bit, it seems like. There we go. There we go. Now we're all at max load. Wonderful. Okay, so that's exactly the behavior we wanted. Oops, sorry, that's not what we wanted there. All right, so we're sitting just under 80 for both, which is good. Not thermal throttling as bad, if at all, at this point. So it could still, honestly, probably use a little bit more help, even with the fans at 100%. So this might be where you could put in some like snail blowers or something else to keep it cooler. And maybe I could remove some stuff around this so it gets better airflow. It seems like this particular GPU is having a harder time. But anyway, this will make it much better than what it was, especially now at least the fans are at 100%, and this one seems to be cooling off a good bit. This one's at least holding, close to that, or right under the 80-degree mark. So that's a good sign. So anyway, now let's go ahead and so we've increased. It's back to basically a steady state. So now let's go ahead and I'll refresh the log file. There we go. So it's back to its steady thing. And so now if I go ahead and interrupt this process, we should see that very quickly the temperatures on the GPU should start to fall. There we go. And then go ahead and refresh the log file again. Okay, so they're starting to, you can actually see it a little bit here. But basically, once both of these get below 45 degrees, it should trigger it the other way, and then it should set the fans back to default. There we go. So we're getting a little closer. All right, it looks like both GPUs are under 45 degrees now. So let's see if it eventually it should trigger. It's a little bit delayed, unfortunately. And I could, you could increase the frequency, or I guess increase the frequency, sorry, that this program runs. So that's up to you. I think it's fine at a minute, but it does have a little bit of a lag. So that's something that, there we go. So there we go. Object modified successfully. Current GPU temperatures, and then all GPU temperatures are below 45 degrees Celsius, reducing fan speed. and we're back in the reduced state. I almost forgot. I'm going to show you guys the iDRAC again, and it should be back to default. There you go. So you can see it's now back in the default settings. So there you go, guys. That's basically the best way I've found so far to manage or basically have a reliable way to cool your GPUs so far. If you guys have any other ideas or any other solutions that have worked well for you, or any more graceful solutions, I'd love to hear them. And please, put them in the comments. But anyway, guys, that does it for this video. I hope this was helpful for you, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, guys, brief reminder here. If you enjoyed the content, please consider giving me a like and a subscribe so I can continue to grow and produce better and better content for you. If you really enjoyed the content, you might even consider buying me a coffee, and the link for how to do that will be in the video description below. If nothing else, please just give me some feedback in the comments and let me know how I'm doing, if anything's unclear, or if there are anything that I can improve on. Thank you again, guys, and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.